You are listening to the Cattle Call Podcast. This is the place where computer-aided design and drafting meets humor and practicality, with a touch of business acumen thrown in for fun. Jim and Rocco, the owners of Zentech Consultants, the premier U.S. technology consulting firm for architecture, engineering, construction, and manufacturing, discuss the fascinating world of CAD with some humor and some honesty. The Cattle Call Podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Cattle Call Podcast with Jim and Rocco from Zentech Consultants. I am Jim, your overworked and underpaid host, and with me, as always, is my partner,
Rocco,
who I always say is overpaid and underworked. But you know what? That's why we make Rocco suffer through the engineering joke of the week. All right, Rocco. So here we go. So this one isn't really for you. This is you. We're going to do some software discussion today. So I figured it's been a while since I threw something out here for my, software engineers, coders, and IT folks. Ready? So here's your joke. So a SQL statement walks into a bar and it sees two tables, and it walks up to them and it asks, "May I join you?" Huh? Rocco's, I have no idea what that means.
Boy. Oh, boy.
That's a terrible joke, but I love it. That's for all my fellow tech geeks out there, so enjoy that, guys. All right. So today on the podcast, we're hitting another recurring episode of our Bluebeam features you need in your life, because Bluebeam Revu, it really is such a big part of the training and the consulting work that we do here at Zentech, that we want to let all the listeners know about the cool features it has that they may have never used. And to that end, today I want to focus on the document overlay feature inside of Revu. It's a tool that I find personally immensely useful. It's particularly good for the design and the construction folks listening out there. And the concept is a pretty simple one, right? Bluebeam will let you take multiple PDF files and kind of drape them one on top of the other, so you can compare how the layouts and the designs on those different sheets will interact and cross and even conflict with each other, right? And this is a vital tool for ensuring that you're not doing silly things like, trying to run power lines through 48-inch deep I-beam, or, trying to route your waste lines up through what you thought was a utility chase and is actually an elevator shaft. Both things I have run across in my design life. So those are not made up. So being able to look at disparate designs in a single location and identify areas of concern, long before they become those costly field change orders, is a very powerful feature. So Rocco, on your end, do you find that our clients are generally aware of the document overlay tool in Revu, or is it something that we kind of need to bring to a lot of people's attention?
It's hit and miss, not everybody's aware of it, but it's like the people that I talk to that are aware of it, they're like, holy crap, like this is huge. Like you gotta be using this,
Yeah. And that's it. It's about finding the right tools that really have a big impact on what you're doing. So look, the idea of overlaying documents is not anything new. It's not like Bluebeam created it. And we've been doing this in one form or another for as long as we've been, drafting up building and site designs. If you're an old man like me, you remember the light tables that were standard fare in just about every design office in the world for decades, right? And that they were used just for this purpose. And for those of you who don't know, a light box, it's basically a plywood box with lights mounted inside of it and a clear plexiglass or glass top. And you could lay your vellums on them and have them backlit. And again, right, just to show my age, right, for you youngsters listening, a vellum, it's an old-fashioned see-through paper that we drew or printed our construction documents on. So basically, we tracing paper, right? A little bit thicker, but basically, yeah, it's kind of see-through stuff. It's what we drafted on. We would take, the architectural floor plan, right? And then we would, put it on a light table, and then we would line up the electrical and the plumbing vellums on top of that, so we could see how those systems would cross and connect with each other. All right. Look, it was basic, but it worked pretty well for a very long time. And it helped us to prevent a lot of potential problems during construction. And look, that particular methodology had some limitations and some drawbacks, like anything. First of all, it wasn't always easy to get, the vellums from all the different design firms. And the old-fashioned blueprints that we used to use, it didn't work all that well because it was a much thicker, heavier paper. It didn't work all that well on a light table. And second, we would run into the issue of, different design houses using different scales for their plans, right? So, if the steel and the HVAC were drawn at, an eighth and a quarter inch, respectively, there just wasn't any way to line those up on a light table, right? You just kind of had to make do with, side by side, put the plans next to each other and just read from one to the other, looking for, any kind of a conflict and hoping you didn't miss anything. Let's be honest about it, right? Those of you who are old like me, we always missed something. Right? There's no way to avoid that. So, Rocco, whether or not folks know about the review tools for this type of work is the concept, I guess, of, overlaying documents this way still something that clients are actively looking to do?
Yeah, I think so. I hear a greater interest in more so from the engineering side. Is that just because that's where I see most of the discussions, or do you think that that's kind of where there's a greater need for it, in your opinion?
Yeah, look, I actually find the opposite. I actually see it more in the construction side, because, I find that the engineers and the architects don't really do it that much. But I think it's an area where they really should be. So I take that as a positive sign that you're hearing more from the design people. I think that's a positive step in the right direction for this kind of work, to coordinate, the different industries before it gets into the hands of the GC. So, I will say that, on my end, I have actually seen a drop off of people doing any type of document overlay. And it really is kind of because of the advent of technology over the last 2 decades, right? And here's the thing, and I think it's a little bit of a misunderstanding. CAD systems, they allow for much better coordination between their files, right? And the inclusion of 3D modeling and related class detection have steered a lot of people away from the concept of just overlaying 2D plans. I don't think I've seen an actual light table in any engineer's office for like at least a decade or more. And I think there's kind of a mistaken belief that because we have computers, that all that coordination and all that error checking has already been done, right? And we can just go right to construction and start to build, right? And let me tell you, having worked in the CAD, BIM, and design world for most of my career, that's not even close to being true. And I will say this, right? In my personal experience, there has been a dramatic increase in conflict on the building site because of this belief. The truth is that, yes, the design system can do this checking, but it is not automatic. And it takes time and money to effectively perform that overlay and error checking with CAD systems. Right? There's a lot of work that has to go into, layer control and block creation and plan alignment and half a dozen other technical steps to kind of make all this happen. And the sad truth is, right, that, and that's why I say, what Rocco was saying, that it's he's seeing it in engineering design firms. I think it's great. But traditionally, most design firms don't do more than cursory work in this area because generally they're not being paid to do it. There is unfortunately kind of a, it's not my problem view to system coordination between design firms, right? And an underlying belief that this is really a GC's issue. And if they don't do their own due diligence before they start the build, well, then it's on them to cover the costs. I will give credit to architects, right? Because they are usually the guys who are signing and more responsible. Architects do a better job at coordination. But a lot of the independent engineering, civil and structural and HVAC and plumbing, they do their work and then they move on. And I'm not a fan of that approach, but the truth is it is out there, and I'm sure that most of our listeners have seen it. And I think it's something that can be easily addressed with Bluebeam's document overlay tool. Right? And that's what we want to talk about here. So I tell you what, let's take a break here to listen to our sponsor for today. And when we get back, I want to talk about how the Revu overlay system actually works. All right, so stand by, folks. We'll be back in just a minute with more Cattle Call Podcast. All right, everybody. This is Jim and Rocco from Zentech Consultants talking to you today about our Zentech Bluebeam Revu tools. All right, our Zentech Revu tools are an awesome way for you guys to be able to get out there and do some lightweight takeoffs on your projects. Look, Bluebeam Revu in and of itself offers fast, simple, and accurate takeoff of all your building structures, right? But most of us still struggle with getting consistent output on each project. And that's where Zentech Revu tools for Bluebeam comes in. It gives you a full suite of simple-to-use tools designed specifically for your own trade or industry that'll just show up right inside of everybody's Bluebeam in your entire company. We have sets for site work, structural, exteriors, interiors, even a set of tools specifically for general contractors, and more on the way. So Rocco, why don't you tell folks where they can find out more about our Zentech Revu tools?
Yep, it's at zentechconsultants.net, and you can actually purchase them right off of our e-store if you want. Or if you want to talk to us, give us a call, 866-824-4459, or drop us an email, sales@zentechconsultants.net.
There you go, folks. Zentech Revu tools exclusively from Zentech Consultants. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Cattle Call Podcast. And we're talking about using the document overlay tool inside of Bluebeam Revu and the benefit that it brings, right? Particularly for construction folks. And in this half of the show, I want to talk about the practical use of this tool and how you guys can get started using it. The great thing here is that, the document overlay feature, it is available at some level in every single version of Bluebeam. Doesn't matter if you have the basic, the core, or the complete, right? With the basic and the core, you're kind of limited to performing overlays only one at a time. All right, so in other words, you can do multiple documents, but you have to manually add each one to the overlay process. With the Bluebeam Complete version, they include what Bluebeam calls their batch functionality, meaning that you can auto-generate overlays across hundreds, even thousands of files all at once. And I think it's an ideal system for working coordination on really big jobs. Rocco, before we get into the details of using overlays, how can folks get these different versions of Revu, and kind of what's the difference between them price-wise?
Yeah, so we sell and obviously do a lot of training and support for Bluebeam, so we can help you guys purchase the licensing. And Bluebeam has shifted with the release of Bluebeam V21. They've shifted to the annual license structure. So now it's an annual single user cost, and it runs $240 for the basic version, $300 for the core, and $400 for the complete version. So you could check out details. You could even download a 30-day trial of Bluebeam right on our website at zentechconsultants.net.
There you go. So we're not talking about anything that's real expensive here, right? So just, if nothing else, $400 a year just to get access to this overlay tool, I think it's worth it. So look, the concept behind using Bluebeam's document overlay tool is really simple, and it works basically the same way, whether you're doing it in the single mode or the batch mode. Process is the same, you're just dealing with more drawings. What Revu does is it takes each PDF document that you select, and it changes the color of all the line work in each one of those to a single color. In other words, it takes the architectural plan, right, the PDF, and it makes all the line work in that PDF red. Then it opens the HVAC plan, and it makes all the line work blue, right? And then it changes the electrical plan to green, and so on. The great thing is that while it's doing this, it's automatically making copies of those original PDFs, right? So your record construction documents are not being edited in any way, right? So you guys don't need to worry about that. And once it's made these copies, Revu makes an entirely new PDF, and it names it overlay. right? And it brings each of those 3 PDFs in on separate layers, and then it draws them right on top of each other. Right? And kind of what happens is that areas that kind of overlay each other, right? The red, the green, the blue colors, like walls and so on, when they overlay each other, they're going to show as either a dark brown or a black, while your individual trades line work is going to show with the appropriate colors. Right? And from a practical standpoint, it means that all of your generic building structures, like your walls, your stairs, your doors, your windows, etc., they're all going to just show as black. Okay? And each system is color coded, so you can see where they're going to intersect and where they're going to cross each other, so you can look to find potential problems. And I think best of all, because these overlays that Bluebeam creates are layered, right? You can turn different systems on and off as needed, so you can perform different types of reviews and checks. So if you want to, compare the plumbing against the architecture, just turn off all the other trades, go to work. You want to check, HVAC against structures, same process, okay? Revu even lets you select whatever colors you want to use, right, when it's generating these overlays, right, for each individual PDF. So, they can be consistent with whatever colors you guys would normally use for your internal markup and review systems today, okay? So, Rocco, I know we cover the process, right? It is one of those things that it's like, oh, we can talk about it, but it's always easier to see it and work with it in action. And we cover how to use the overlay tools in a couple of our training classes, right? I think the 2 that come to mind, we do the practical construction use of Bluebeam and our review for power users in particular, right? And how do people find and sign up and access those classes in the different ways we have?
Yeah, we do the classes either on demand or live through public or private classes. So if you've got a group of folks, we could set up a class to run specifically for your team, or you could hit up our schedule, our website at zentechconsultants.net and check out the online schedule. If a class isn't running, you can hit up our training wait list and just let us know that you're interested. And as soon as the class is set up and scheduled, we'll let you know. So, both, again, on demand as well as live, and happy to discuss further if you guys have questions.
There you go. See, we get that info out to you guys one way or another. We find every way we can to deliver it to you. All right. So there is another particular benefit to using the review document overlay process for conflict checking that no other system, not even CAD and BIM, can effectively give you. And that is the ability to overlay different scale plans on top of each other. Right, now, if you guys remember from the first half of the show, right, when I talked about, the old-fashioned light boxes, that was one of the big limitations back in the day. And honestly, CAD systems have the same problem. Comparing plans that are at completely different scales, it still takes a ton of time and effort to deal with that, even in the best CAD systems. Bluebeam, however, has developed a really, really simple system for aligning different scales. Basically, what it lets you do is pick 3 common points on any 2 plans, right, regardless of their scale, right? So you pick the 3 corners of the building, and Revu will scale those documents up and down as needed, right, in that overlay PDF that it creates, so that they're both the same exact size. Right? And what that means is that you can go in and you can even compare things like, an enlarged detail plan against an overall plan, right? Or you can coordinate your interior building design PDFs right on top of your site plans, right? So you're making sure that your stub in and connection points all line up, regardless of different drawing scales and different sheet sizes and so on. And like I said, that alone is a feature that no other system that I am aware of can easily duplicate. Look, even if you're working in a true 3D BIM model, and you can compare this stuff like in real time with conflict checking, that type of system review still requires combining all of the differing systems into a massive model and performing, like I said, detailed conflict checks And sometimes, like I said, that the designers won't do that. Right? That generally means it's going to fall to the general contractors, BIM and VDC directors, right? Who a lot of times just struggle to get access to the latest and greatest models, right? Even assuming that your job was done in 3D across all your different engineers. The truth is that most of us still work with PDF construction documents 90% of the time. Right? And there is just no better tool for handling system coordination and conflict checks with a PDF file than this Bluebeam document overlay feature. All right, so I tell you what, we're going to wrap it up here, but I'm going to leave you guys with this one last simple statement to remember before we sign off today. If you are not using Bluebeam's document overlay tool today, y'all need to go out and start learning how to use that first thing tomorrow morning. All right, folks. Y'all, I'm from the South now instead of from New Jersey.
Wow.
Hey, don't you mock me. I can be from wherever I want to be.
Okay.
All right, there we go. All right, folks, we're out of here. We will catch you next time on the Cattle Call Podcast. All right, everybody, today's Cattle Call was brought to you courtesy of Zentech Consultants. That's Rocco and I. Zentech Consultants works with design and manufacturing firms to help our clients purchase and implement the software that they need in these complex industries. We provide a single point of contact for clients to buy, develop, and learn the most vital software systems for your specific needs. Zentech strives to be your trusted technology partner from your initial needs all the way through long-term support and training for your entire staff. So Rocco, why don't you tell them how to reach out to Zentech?
All right, yeah, you can reach out to us through zentechconsultants.net. You can email us at sales@zentechconsultants.net, or you can even call us 866-824-4459.
Excellent. We look forward to hearing from y'all.